I think we talked about this a little bit last week. James and I talked about it a little bit. Logan, you and I agreed on this last week. Florida State had not played a complete game up to this point in the season. Through the first 8 games, there was always at least one quarter in every single game where you could say the Florida State disappointed a little bit, or Florida State had a setback a little bit. So they had not played a complete game up until Saturday. And yes, I get that the level of competition was not the same as Florida State had played against other teams this season. But Florida State came out from the opening kickoff and was in control the entire game. Jordan Travis put on, he literally only had to throw for 202 yards in the game, but threw for 3 touchdowns. And yes, his one interception was an overthrow on his part, but he came back after that, and Florida State 2 more touchdown drives in that second quarter of that game. Trey Benson, just look at the numbers. You're talking about 15 carries, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. You're talking about a defense that held the University of Miami to 188 total yards in that game. This was a complete domination from the jump in this game. And this was it should not have been this way. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But I will give Mike Norvell credit. And Logan, you can cut this. You can post this on Noel Game Day. Get ready for this part right here, because I'm going to give Mike Norvell some credit. And after the game, he gave me a shout-out in the post-game press conference. He's like, I knew you were going to be here, because he knows who a South Florida Noel is right here. Mike Norvell has turned this team around from a 42-point loss to Miami in his first season in 2020 to a 42-point win in his third season. This is an 84-point turnaround. Well, this is literally what Florida State has come around. Hell, you go from where Florida State started last season 0-4 to we are now 11-6 in our last 17 games. Almost a 667 winning percentage in our last 17 games. What Florida State is right now, and you could argue that, a 3-point loss to Florida, a 2-point loss to NC State, just trying to think real quick off the top of my head with some of those other losses. So there were a couple of those other losses that were close losses. A 6-point loss to Clemson this year. Florida State is seemingly turning this around. And I think there is a legitimate chance right now. I'm just going to put it out in the universe. Put it out there. Let's see what happens. Florida State could end the season in the bowl game with 10 wins. And if Florida State can go from losing 52-10 in 2020 to Miami, losing to Jacksonville State, to possibly a 10-win program in Norvell's third season, I think the sky is the limit for what the future can bring. Now, obviously, Florida State has a tough road game this week against Syracuse. Mind you, it is a Syracuse team on a 3-game losing streak, but it is on the road. It's a good Syracuse team. You don't know what Florida team is going to show up at the end of the season. It's a Florida team that looked good against a bad Texas A&M team, a Florida team that has a win over Utah, but also a Florida team that has 4 losses so far in the season and could lose this week to South Carolina. So we don't know what Florida team we will see on November 25th. But the sky is the limit right now for what Florida State could be by the end of the season.